The United Nations is estimating more than 4 million people have been displaced in the Middle East in the 2 weeks since the U.S. and Israel launched their unprovoked war on Iran. About 3.2 million people in Iran have been displaced and over 800,000 in Lebanon. We begin today's show in Lebanon, where Israeli strikes have killed nearly 700 people over the past 2 weeks. Israel's expanded its bombing campaign to target areas of central Beirut. Israeli officials have also expanded a forced evacuation order for southern Lebanon, almost doubling the size of the zone. Earlier today, Israel targeted a key bridge over the Litani River, a major crossing point between southern and northern Lebanon. Israel defended the attack on civilian infrastructure, claiming the bridge was also used by members of Hezbollah. This comes as Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz says Israel plans to expand its occupation of areas in southern Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed. Earlier today, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres arrived in Beirut. He wrote online, quote, "I have just landed in Beirut for a visit of solidarity with the people of Lebanon. They did not choose this war. They were dragged into it," unquote. Guterres called on Israel and Hezbollah to negotiate a ceasefire and stop the war. We go now to Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, where we're joined by Lylla Younes, who has been reporting on the war for Dropsite News. Lylla, thanks so much for being with us again. If you can describe what's happening on the war as Israel expands the zone that it is demanding people evacuate from southern Lebanon beyond.
Yes, Amy. So the people of Lebanon got another displacement order from the Israelis to now evacuate the region between the Litani River and the Zahrani River. So this is practically the vast majority of southern Lebanon is now under displacement orders. That is approximately 15% of the country. I think it's important for listeners who are not familiar with Lebanon to understand this is a very small country and one with densely populated urban areas. There aren't a lot of places for people to go. The government has opened a number of shelters across Beirut, but many people there have told me that they don't feel safe. I visited a shelter in Bir Hassan, which is a neighborhood on the outskirts of the southern suburbs of Dahieh, which has actually also been targeted during this war, this escalation, I should say. And people there told me that they have been struggling to sleep the nights from the bombing, which is very close by, and that sometimes they'll get the area will get a warning for the nearby neighborhood of Jnah or even Bir Hassan or an area close by, and then they'll pick up their things and they'll get in their car and they'll drive to the waterfront and they'll spend the night sleeping in their car or in a tent on the sand. But Amy, even there is no longer safe. 2 nights ago was at Ramlat al-Bayda, which is a beach on the end of the Beirut promenade, on the southern end of the promenade. I was there, I kind of watched the sunset, I was observing, there were many displaced people. They had pitched tents, the sunset, people took out their hookahs, had their iftars. I go home, a few hours later, massive massacre. Right there where I was at Ramlat al-Bayda, a drone fired several bombs on these displaced people in their tents and on the sidewalk, and killing 8, injuring at least 30 others. And again, this is an area in central Beirut, not an area where there is a displacement order. And while Israel has been issuing warnings for some buildings or areas like the neighborhood of Bashura, which is actually very close to where I am right now, there are these other drone attacks where people are being killed, where there are no warnings issued in advance. We saw that happen as well last night in another area of Beirut, in Burj Hamoud, in Jnah as well. So, despite these absolutely sweeping displacement orders, we are seeing, people actually being targeted, mostly displaced people outside of those areas, and the massacres are multiplying. A massacre just today in Saida, killing 8. We saw Syrian refugees displaced already killed, 7 killed in a massacre in Tamim in the Beqa Valley, a massive massacre in Nabishit, also in the Beqa Valley, when the Israelis tried to do a nighttime incursion by helicopter. So the death toll, as you read in your news updates, it's mounting. We are at almost 700 people in under 2 weeks. That's approximately 50 people a day. We're reaching numbers that we saw during certain periods of the Gaza genocide here in Lebanon.
And Lylla, what's been the response of the Lebanese government, especially in view of the fact that some of these Israeli attacks, as you mentioned, have been actually even in downtown Beirut?
The Lebanese government has condemned the attacks. They have also condemned Hezbollah. So at the UN Security Council yesterday, the Lebanese representative opened up his remarks by distancing the Lebanese government from Hezbollah, saying the Lebanese people did not ask for this war, saying that the government was willing to enter direct negotiations with Israel, which is unprecedented. Lebanon considers Israel an enemy state. It's important to recall the 18-year occupation of southern Lebanon from 1982 to 2000. And so usually Lebanon has mediators that are involved in these types of negotiations. Now the government is sort of pushing forth, saying, let's talk, we want to negotiate. But reportedly, the White House is actually not answering the prime minister's phone calls. And I think it's also very important to note that this bodes very poorly for the people of Lebanon, because the civilian infrastructure, which is now, as of today, you read in your news updates, 2 bridges were targeted, are beginning to be targeted, and the Americans sort of have given the Lebanese government guarantees that the airport and the port will not be bombed as they were in the 2006 war. But now the Americans sort of giving the cold shoulder to the Lebanese government. It's not clear how long those guarantees will actually hold up.
And also, could you talk about the ability of Hezbollah to continue to fire rockets into Israel, given supposedly Israel's crippling strikes on the organization in past attacks in Lebanon?
Hezbollah is firing barrages of rockets towards Israel, but the Israeli defense systems are very good at intercepting them. I believe a couple have fallen within Israel. They've been targeting particularly missile defense systems, these rocket attacks, but they have been so far not very successful in creating widespread damage in Israel. The Israeli defense systems are very good at intercepting the types of rockets that Hezbollah launches. And I think it's also important to note, we don't know exactly what Hezbollah's capacity is. Vast weapons stores that they once had were destroyed during the 66-day war in the fall of 2024, and then also over the course of the so-called ceasefire, which was not really a ceasefire. Remember, the United Nations counted over 15,000 violations of the ceasefire reached between Lebanon and Israel in 2024. So basically, over the past year and a half, Israel has been bombing Lebanon on a daily basis, and bombing particularly, in addition to killing over 300 civilians, has been bombing, routinely bombing Hezbollah weapon stores. So it's not exactly clear how much capacity Hezbollah has. Where they've really seen the most success has actually been targeting Israeli soldiers who are inside of Lebanon and thereby not protected by those missile defense systems, firing anti-tank missiles towards Israelis in the town of El-Khiyam, for example.
Lylla Younes, we want to thank you for being with us, investigative journalist and writer based in Beirut, Lebanon. Please be safe. We will link to your articles for Drop Site News at democracynow.org. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.